She stood on the edge of the dock, clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon. "You can't park that thing here," she screamed, her voice echoing across the calm water. I stayed silent, standing on the deck of my floating house, my brand new houseboat that I'd just finished building with my own hands. It wasn't even fully tied down yet, but already the HOA president, Karen, was there, yelling like I dropped a bomb in her backyard. "This is private property," she shouted again. "You're trespassing on HOA waters." I almost laughed. HOA waters? The lake was on my land. I'd bought this entire ranch 2 years ago, every inch, every tree, every drop of that water. But I didn't say that. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go. Behind her, 2 men in matching polo shirts appeared, holding radios, like they were about to raid a crime scene. "We've called the cops," one of them yelled. "You're violating community regulations." I leaned on the railing, calm as ever. "Community?" I said quietly. "You sure about that?" Karen crossed her arms, smirking like she'd already won. "Oh, I'm very sure. The HOA owns this entire lake. You'll be fined, towed, and removed today." The word towed almost made me laugh again. How do you tow a houseboat? Still, I didn't move. I watched her pull out her phone, snapping pictures, narrating for her Facebook group, probably. She kept talking, louder now, hoping the world would hear her authority. "You think you can just float in here like you own the place?" she sneered. I smiled finally. "No," I said, "I don't think I own it." I paused just long enough for her to raise an eyebrow. "I know I do." Her smile vanished. "What did you just say?" she asked. I pointed toward the far end of the lake, where a faded wooden sign stood half buried in weeds. "You ever read that?" I asked. "That sign was put there in 1973, before your HOA even existed." She blinked, confused. The 2 men behind her exchanged looks. "That can't be right," she stammered. "This lake is part of Echo Shore's estates." "Not this half," I said, my tone steady. "This half's part of Eagle Ranch, and I'm Eagle Ranch." Before she could answer, sirens wailed in the distance. Karen smiled again, triumph in her eyes. "Good," she said. "They'll handle this." I turned toward the sound, still calm. But deep down, something inside me started to burn. Because the moment she said they, I knew. She didn't call real cops. She called them. And that's when the real story began. The 2 patrol boats came gliding across the lake, lights flashing like they were about to stop a drug cartel. Karen straightened her dress, folding her arms proudly. "See," she said with a grin, "you're in real trouble now." But I just watched them approach, my eyes narrowing. Their uniforms looked off. Cheap badges, no county logos, just shiny metal plates that caught the sunlight. I'd seen enough real cops in my life to know when something didn't add up. The boats stopped a few feet from my dock. One of the men shouted, "Sir, step off the vessel. You're trespassing on Echo Shore's HOA property." Karen clapped her hands together, thrilled. "Yes, arrest him. He's defying official orders." I raised my hand slightly, pretending to cooperate. "Before I do that," I said, "mind if I ask what department you're with?" The man hesitated. "Echo Shore's Security Division." "Security Division?" I repeated slowly. "Never heard of that." "We're authorized to act under HOA enforcement rights," the second one added. Karen nodded like that explained everything. "See, we have authority." I couldn't hold back a small laugh. "Authority? Ma'am, those guys are wearing Amazon badges." Her expression darkened. "Excuse me?" "Yeah," I said, pointing. I know because I bought the same ones when I built the set for my nephew's short film. The so-called officers glanced at each other nervously. Karen's face turned red. You don't know what you're talking about. They're licensed. Oh, I do, I said calmly, because I am licensed. That shut her up for a moment. I reached into my backpack and pulled out a small black wallet. I flipped it open slowly, letting the light hit the gold badge inside. Her jaw dropped. Deputy Sheriff, she whispered. Retired, I said with a smile, but still have the right to report impersonation of law enforcement. Karen took a step back, her voice shaking now. That's not what this is. They're just breaking about 6 laws, I said, my voice dropping lower. And you're helping them. The fake officers froze. One of them muttered something under his breath and started to back up the boat. The other one followed instantly. Karen spun around, furious. Don't you dare leave. Get back here. I'm in charge here. But they didn't listen. The boats turned, throttling away as fast as they could. I leaned against the railing again, watching them disappear into the distance. Karen was shaking now, rage and panic mixing on her face. You set me up, she screamed. I smiled calmly. No, Karen. You set yourself up. For a long moment, she just stood there, breathing hard. Then her eyes flicked toward her phone again. This isn't over, she hissed. You'll regret this. I looked past her at the empty lake, the sun glinting on the calm water. You might be right, I said quietly. But I don't think I'm the one who'll be regretting anything 7 minutes from now. Her face twisted in confusion. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer. I just smiled. Because 7 minutes from now, she'd find out exactly what I meant. Karen stood there on the dock, phone still in her hand, muttering to herself. I could see her scrolling, probably calling the rest of her HOA board to come handle the situation. She had no idea that the real storm was about to hit her. Not from me, but from what she'd already triggered. She stomped closer to the edge of my dock, pointing again like a drill sergeant. You think flashing some fake badge scares me? She snapped. I know people. My brother's on the town council. You'll be out of here by tonight. I raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Yes, she shouted. And when the real police show up, they'll drag that floating pile of junk right off my lake. My lake, I corrected quietly. What? I didn't repeat it. I just let her words echo off the water, while the soft hum of an engine started growing louder behind her. Karen turned, expecting to see backup, but what rolled up wasn't another HOA patrol boat. It was the county sheriff's department, the real one. 2 deputies stepped off their boat, hands resting calmly on their belts. Afternoon, the taller one said, glancing from me to Karen. We got a report about a trespasser and a possible stolen vessel? Karen straightened proudly. Yes, that's him. She pointed right at me. He floated this illegal houseboat into HOA property. He's refusing to leave. The deputy nodded, jotting something in his notebook. Then he turned to me. Sir, you mind telling us what's going on? I nodded politely. Sure thing. But before I do, might want to check the property lines. Karen scoffed. Property lines? Please. This is Echo Shore's HOA land. The deputy raised an eyebrow. You have the deed on you, ma'am. I don't need to show him anything. He's the one breaking the law. Ma'am, the deputy said firmly, I'll need to see your paperwork if you're claiming ownership. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She hadn't expected that. She turned to the other deputy for help, but he was already looking at his GPS tablet, syncing with county property records. After a few seconds, he looked up. Sheriff, he said quietly, you might want to see this. He turned the screen around. Karen craned her neck, frowning. Then her entire face drained of color. The boundary map clearly showed the lake split in half, one side belonging to Echo Shores HOA, and the other half labeled Eagle Ranch, private property. The deputy looked at me again. Sir, that's your name on the deed? I nodded. Yes, sir. Bought it 3 years ago. Karen blinked fast, panic creeping into her voice. No, that can't be right. The HOA, we manage the entire lake. The deputy tilted his head. You manage half of it. This man owns the other half. And from what I can see, he pointed toward my dock. He's well within his boundary. Karen's mouth hung open. You're kidding me. No, ma'am, the deputy said flatly. And calling in fake law enforcement? That's a serious offense. I crossed my arms, finally letting the smirk show. Told you this was gonna be a long 7 minutes. Karen turned on me, furious, humiliated, trembling with rage. You think you've won? She hissed. I shrugged. Oh, this isn't about winning. It's about ownership. She didn't get it yet, but she would, because the next move was already in play. Karen was shaking now, pacing on the dock like a trapped cat. The deputies were still there, quietly confirming the documents on their tablets, while I leaned against the railing of my houseboat, letting the moment play out. She wasn't used to losing control, and it showed. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You can't just build some floating shack and call it yours. I gave her a calm look. Well, technically I can, and I did. She glared, breathing heavy. We'll appeal. The HOA board won't let this stand. We'll have lawyers here by tomorrow morning. I smiled faintly. Good. Because my lawyers have been waiting 2 years for you to make that move. That stopped her. What are you talking about? Let's just say, I said slowly, you've been crossing the line for a while now. You just didn't know it. Her eyes darted. What do you mean? I looked at the sheriff's deputy. You mind checking one more thing for me? Sure, he said, still polite. Look up HOA dock permit 4B. He scrolled for a moment, then frowned. Huh, that dock, he pointed at the one Karen was standing on, isn't in the system. Karen froze. What do you mean it's not in the system? He tapped the screen again. It's not registered. Which means, ma'am, that structure is technically built on his side of the lake. For a second, nobody spoke. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. Then Karen laughed, a nervous, trembling laugh. That's impossible. That dock has been here for years. Exactly, I said. You built it without a permit, on my property. Her face twisted, panic turning into desperation. No, that's a lie. You sure? I said softly. Because I have drone footage, old survey files, even the construction receipts your contractor filed under my parcel number. Karen's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down, her face draining even more. What? What is this? I already knew what she was seeing. An email from the county inspector's office. They'd been quietly investigating her HOA for months, after multiple complaints from residents. Read it out loud, I said. Her lips trembled as she spoke. Effective immediately, Echo Shores HOA is under audit for misuse of funds and unauthorized property modifications. The deputy looked up slowly. Ma'am, this is serious. Karen backed away like she'd been hit. You did this, she shouted. I didn't deny it. I just gave them the proof. She took another step back, right to the edge of the dock. You think you're so smart? You think you can just destroy everything we built here? I met her eyes. No, Karen, I'm not destroying anything. I'm just taking back what's mine. She opened her mouth to yell again, but her heel slipped on the edge of the dock. There was a sharp gasp, a splash, and suddenly she was in the water, sputtering and thrashing. The deputies rushed forward, pulling her out before anything worse happened. When she stood again, soaked and shivering, she glared up at me through dripping hair. "This isn't over," she whispered. I smiled calmly. "You're right, it's not. Because I still had one more move left."